button for everybody that can't make it. But we're just going to have a quick couple minutes. I want to say welcome to everybody. I've talked to all of you on the phone, and it's that time to get going again with class. And I hope you all feel very rested and ready to get back at it. But this course, NSC 900, actually everybody in the course was in our informatics course last fall. So we all know each other. And I'm sure you've been together in other classes as you've kind of gone along and different things like that. But my goal tonight, just for the spirit of keeping the video succinct, is just to quickly run through the syllabus and some key things for class. And then we can chat and talk, and I'll answer any questions that you're going to have. So I'm going to try to share my screen with you and see if I can pull the syllabus up. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. Okay. So this course is NSC 900 role transition. And I want to start with this idea. So I drew this little picture for the informatics group yesterday, but it's kind of applicable just to take measure of where you're at in the program. So if you imagine that you start this program for the purpose of becoming an expert in the healthcare system, right? Because you're already an expert nurse practitioner or educator or leader, whatever it is you do, but you're really here to learn a new level of evaluating the healthcare system. So you found this problem, you know a population, you are partnering in this class with an organization. And most of you have already taken all your classes about how does informatics contribute to this problem? How does policy contribute? Leadership, economics, theory, all of that. This class is kind of about your chance to start putting all of this together in a way that ultimately ends up speaking to your project. And some of you are more advanced in that thinking than others. Some of you have very clear ideas about where you're going, what you're going to do, what's going to happen. But for everyone else that's not exactly there, it is sort of getting to be the crunch point that we've got to start really nailing this stuff out and getting all the information together so that you're ready to start putting a proposal together, start figuring out what you're going to have to do for your IRBs and just different things like that. So where before in classes we said, it's okay to kind of have an idea. Now we got to start bringing it in or reeling it in, because otherwise you're not going to graduate. And we want you to graduate. We want you to get done. I know you want this over with, but this is a big nursing process on steroids that we want to support you as you go through it, have you lead a project so that you'll go on and do another project and another project and another project and another project. So that's just kind of a little overview of where we're at. So the other thing about this class is, as you saw in my video, there is a clinical component to this. So when you entered the program, you should have gotten a gap analysis, basically saying, based on whatever credit hours you got in your master's program, we gave you probably some degree of credit toward this concept of 1,000 hours. So American Association of Colleges of Nursing says you need 1,000 clinical hours documented beyond a master's degree, beyond the BSN, to demonstrate your level of expertise at the DNP level. So some of your expertise are gleaned from you learning your role as a nurse educator, a nurse practitioner, this type thing. And we are talking about formal academic training, not exactly on-the-job work experience. It's formal academic clinical hours. So some of you will be taking 1 credit hour or 60 clinical hours, and some of you are taking 2 clinical hours, which is 120 clinical hours. So I think everybody knows what category you fall into, but if you feel unclear about that, make sure you let me know, and I'll help you clarify that. So because some of you are doing one set of hours and some are in the other, we are not all in the same section in Blackboard as one big group, okay? So we're all doing the same work basically, but we're not in the same section. So some of that has prompted me to rethink as an educator, how are we going to talk to each other and inspire each other and do other things if we're not all in the same. So the idea came to me that I'm going to use this organization, the DNP organization, so that we're not just talking to each other, we're really talking and having conversations in the larger national DNP community. Because maybe there's somebody out there doing a similar project, or maybe there's somebody that would be willing to mentor you. You never know until you start kind of putting yourself out there and seeing what's going on. So some of that, this is a totally new thing. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it goes. I appreciate your patience with my, piddling in new academic endeavors. So I want your feedback. Tell me if you think it's a good idea, if it stinks, maybe we won't do it next time, but I want to kind of see how this goes. So again, most of you are familiar with how these courses are outlined, so I'm just going to get right to the syllabus. I did put a final version which has the academic withdrawal dates. That's the only thing that's different about it as compared to what I sent you. You can go to EKU and pull up, the last date to withdraw from the semester and things like that. So it's the only thing about this document that's changed. So just quickly, call me, text me. Just remember, I do take my Ambien promptly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I may not know what I'm saying if you call me after that. But other than that, call me anytime. This is our required book, which I'm sure most of you have. The technology, again, the only thing that's really changed is we're using Zoom instead of Adobe Connect. That had to do with the Blackboard upgrade that we had here at school. And how do you get your grade in this course? A lot of things we're going to do in this class is one of those pass-fail kind of things. Doing the work is really how you get your grade. So you're going to do the little professional bio post. There's a couple of quizzes. I think they're pretty easy, nothing killer. What I'll say about the quizzes is make sure you'll be able to review the ones that you missed. And I gave you some very specific page numbers to go look at if you didn't quite catch it the first time. So just make sure you look in the rationale for the page numbers, go back and look that up, because I tried to only pick out questions that I really want to drive home and make a point of, making sure that we all know. So I think it's going to be straightforward, and quite honestly, I think most of you could pass it without the reading, but because we're all at these different points in our learning, I wanted to bring the quizzes in because I think it's important to motivate you to read. And I know for myself, I won't read unless there's a little skin in the game. So it's to kind of inspire us to do that. We're going to do no discussion boards, 4 reflections, and you're going to write 1 very short paper. And then at the end of the class, you're going to make a plan about what you need to do to finish out your project. So very individualized, very purposely intended to push you along the spectrum wherever you are currently at. So again, the only thing I added here is your drop add dates. Just make sure you read over the accessibility, integrity policy. Of course, only communicate on your EKU email. And these are some of the assignments. So this week, you should be working with Christy Isaacs to make sure that you have got an approved clinical contract with your preceptor, okay? I should be notified by her, as you should be notified when that paperwork is formally in place. The hours do not technically count until the date of that agreed upon document, okay? So it's not to say you can't do some work, but the formal mentorship agreement can't start legally, and all the educators, what I'm talking about. It can't officially start because you're not covered on malpractice insurance until that contract is in place. But once that is in place, you are going to sit down with your preceptor and you're going to develop some learning objectives for yourself. I would like to look at whatever you've got so far on Friday. That's what I want you to turn into me on Friday, so I can look through it, give you some feedback, because I want in these first 2 weeks to make sure that we're crystal clear for you as an individual about what you're trying to do, how you're going to be measured, and that type thing. So again, your task on this is meet with your preceptor, ensure the preceptor has gotten their copy of the clinical packet. They need to sign that they received it, and you just need to take a screenshot of that signature and put it in the little Dropbox for me. And then I want you to develop the objectives. I gave you a worksheet so that you can kind of rough draft some of these things out. But the worksheet will then be later translated to the points that your preceptor will evaluate you on. And thus, I will evaluate you based on that, right? So I'm not coming to your clinical setting, to watch you. It's not exactly the same thing as what we're used to in other clinical training that we've done. It's just a way that I'll check in with you, make sure we're meeting the objectives and that type of thing. Please tell your preceptors that if they have any questions whatsoever, give them my cell number. They are welcome to call me at any time if they feel confused or need some guidance about what needs to happen. One thing that I will say academically is that it is always the responsibility of the faculty member to officially evaluate a student. Preceptors certainly give us feedback and things like that, but the language on evaluation in academia is very pointed, that it has to be the faculty member who is ultimately responsible for a student in a clinical setting. So that just, I'm here. You let me know I'm here to support you. So the first thing you're going to do is turn in your planning form for your learning objectives. The clinical log, I will show you where that's at. You can basically keep it on an Excel spreadsheet as far as I'm concerned, but there is actually a little log that I'll show you. But I'm just going to have a couple of checkpoints for your log. Again, there's no certain number of hours you need to be at necessarily. You have all 16 weeks to complete these hours. So even though we're only getting together in the first 8 weeks here, you've got all 16 weeks to complete these hours. So at midterm in the 8 weeks, basically, I'll say, can you turn in your log so I can just check it and make sure you're moving along? At the end of the 8 weeks, I'll suggest that you turn it in again so I can check it again. And then just whenever you get done, you'll turn it in the last time so that I've got a record of myself checking your logs at certain points. So that's all that is. And it's you just either do it or not, but there's no minimum number of hours. I just have to see your completed hours at your 60 or 120, depending on which section you're in, for you to complete the class and me give you a grade. That's basically what we need that for. And also to show that you're progressing toward your 1,000 hours that we need for a program outcome. Your professional bio, I want you to obviously develop a bio. This bio, because we all know each other, again, we've all been in class together, but I want this to kind of be a document that's on the ready in case you need to do a more formal presentation. You're going to need this anyway for your final DNP project presentation. You may be applying to conferences, submitting abstracts, or doing other types of things where you have to have a more formal bio on the ready. So I gave you mine. Follow along as an example. These are the things that I would absolutely like to see in your bio. There's some other things that are good to include depending on what you want to put in your own bio. But that's what I would like to see. I would like for you to upload your bio onto the DNP website. I'll show you that in just a sec. You will have to, before it's viewed publicly, it'll have to be approved by the little guy. His name is David O'Campbell. But he knows I'm doing this project with you guys about using that platform. But I just need to see it to be able to give you a grade. So if you can get it on the website, I would like that. If you feel more comfortable putting in the Dropbox, I'm cool with that too. I just need to see it before I give you a grade for it. So for example, Kathy, I just saw yours. I'll show everybody that in just a second, but that's what I want you to do. You're going to have that on the ready. So that's simple, easy, get it done. you got it nailed. The quizzes, like we were talking about, very simple. 10 questions, 15 minutes, 2 attempts. If there's any snafus with the quizzes, let me know. I did have to build this class from scratch because we had a new Blackboard upgrade. So if something doesn't work, if you think it's quirky or it kicks you out or something like that, just make sure you let me know that and I'll fix it for you. I think everything's working though. I've tested it a few times. You should be able to view the ones you missed. Like I said, I gave you some pointed places to go look to remind you of the ones you missed, and then just take it again and do it again. The reflections that we're going to do, I do want to try to put reflections out into the larger DNP organization. So I'm going to ask you your opinion about a lot of things. You don't have to go APA crazy in these reflections because this is your opinion and your experience and what you think. If you want to throw some APA stuff in there, that's lovely, but you don't have to do that. This is a lot of taking it in and taking assessment of where you're at with these things in your thoughts, your development, that type of stuff. The only thing that I would just ask is talk about yourself all you want, but just don't trash or badmouth your organization. You know, we're all professionals. There's the right way to say things. I don't want somebody going online and saying, you know, UK sucks and the VA sucks and everybody sucks and I hate this place and I can't wait to get my degree and get out of here. Like, you know, it's okay to be frustrated because everybody's got problems in their organization. Nothing's perfect. So there's no reason to hide that under a lampshade, but we just want to be respectful and that type of stuff. So just be careful in that. If you could, I would appreciate that. Coming on down the pike, if you've been playing with the website that I've given you here, the Doctor of Nursing Practice organization, you know that they have a newsletter. If you read the author guidelines for that newsletter, you will see that the maximum capacity is 1.5 pages long, and that is the paper that we're going to write. We're going to use those author guidelines. You are going to draft a paper based on those guidelines, and the guidelines, you can write about absolutely anything you want to. The guidelines, they look for papers that are based on the DNP essentials. So what I'd like for you to think about is the DNP essentials and how you are transitioning from your master's degree level of practice to the DNP level of practice, and how you're changing and shed some kind of new light on what you're learning or something like that. But the world is your oyster. I'm pretty open as to what you want to write about or feel compelled to write about. I just want you to follow the author requirements because my plan here is I want you to get published. Newsletters are a great way to get your feet wet with scholarly publication. They have a very high acceptance rate. And when you follow along, what I want to do is take your paper, I want to edit it for you, give it back to you, let you look over it, and then I actually want you at the end of class to submit this sucker and see if they'll publish it. They look for student publications. I've done this project with other classes, and I've had a very high success rate of publication. So you could talk about your project. You could talk about something totally different. But I want to see you get published, and I want us to have sort of a mentoring experience. You are more likely to publish if you have a mentor sort of pushing you along and showing you how to do it. So this course is a lot about mentoring, and so I want to kind of mentor you through some of this writing process. It's very short, easy to do, but if you do it once, it's so easy to do, I bet you'll do it again. And maybe you'll publish in a newsletter that's more relevant to your type of nursing that you do. But NLN has a newsletter. AANP has a newsletter. You know, I'm a nurse practitioner, so the ones I read are like Margaret Fitzgerald has a newsletter. The Kentucky Nursing Association has a newsletter. There's lots of ways to publish short things to get the word on the street about the work that you're doing. And so it builds your confidence so that then you'll go on to peer-reviewed journals, and then you'll go on to other things. So that's my goal with the paper. It should be easy, good. It can be about really anything you want it to be. The transition plan, as we get down again to the end of the course, just like you're taking inventory of what you want to accomplish in the course, at the very end, I want you to take inventory of what you need to work on next. And that's all. Write it up. Think about how it's fitting into the essentials, and just make a little worksheet on it. Nothing formal, nothing crazy, nothing big. Just something for yourself, something for you to discuss with your faculty advisor about what you need to do next to move projects along. And then the video, I want everybody, as we get down in the spirit of mentorship, collaboration, bringing up a new generation of DNP students, I want you to just reflect on how this whole experience is going for you. Offer us some tidbits, give us something that you've learned, and give a couple of recommendations maybe for future students. Put it together in a very short little YouTube type video. And that way we've got a platform, again, to sort of share your work. I want you to get familiar with doing a YouTube presentation as you prepare for your final project, and then just as a platform for you to maybe do other videos to kind of get your agenda out for whatever your DNP is going to be. So some very light outline here of what we're going to do. I've not put a whole lot of extra fluff stuff in these, reading about this. It's really the book. I want to pick out points of the book and read through the book. And then you're going to do the work, obviously, of going to clinical. And doing your clinical, whatever that means for you, that's going to be the big part of your work. So all of these other things, technical support, Chris Daniel, tutoring service, Noel Studio. I do reserve the right to modify the syllabus, although I really have no plans to do so unless we are hit with something like a hurricane or such, which, that has happened. But this is kind of our tentative outline of how we're going to go about the course. If you like me, you like to check things off. Office hours is meant to be very chill, laid back, just a place where you know that you can find me every week if you have questions. And I'm more than happy to meet any other day that's more convenient for your schedule, however that works. So that is basically the syllabus. I wanted to show you quickly, this is the website that I keep talking about, the DNP organization website. If you have not gone on this yet, to find where you log in, you have to go to community, and then you have to log in after you've created a profile. And so once you've created a profile, it will look basically like this. This is mine. You'll see, look, there's Kathy's little posts, some other posts, but again, my goal here is just to get you talking to other people and networking and kind of doing something innovative instead of just doing discussion board after discussion board after discussion board. And so there's Kathy's. I responded to that, as I will do when I go to check, for that. And that's kind of it. So I will open it up to whatever questions you have, or what can I do to make you feel like you want to be successful in this class. Let me stop my sharing and let me put us back to everybody. So, question. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Dr. Bradshaw, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on the clinical approval request,
yes,
I know it says at the bottom for the faculty contact
mm-hmm.
that it should not be the preceptor,
mm-hmm.
but the CNO is actually out right now for surgery.
Okay.
And so my preceptor is actually taking over for her. Is
okay.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe make a little note of that at the bottom so
Okay.
that Christy knows. Yeah.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
think that should be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. I think that should be fine. So.
I had a question about the professional bio.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned on here current scholarship or critical activities. What do you mean by that?
For example, I'll just say on mine, I've been doing this systematic review on multiple sclerosis patients for what feels like 3 years now. I think for most of you, I would put what your DMP project interest is, because that's your primary scholarship right now. You might be involved in something else somewhere else at your organization, and you can list anything like that. But scholarship, I think the DMP project here is going to take your major precedence, but anything else that you just have a general passion for or something you're up to, you can include there to just let people know what areas of practice you kind of have a passion for and an interest in. Maybe you've published something in the past that was a big deal or something like that. So.
Good. And my second question about this, can we submit it to you but not on the website?
Yes, absolutely. Just put it in the Dropbox if you feel more comfortable doing that. That's not a problem at all. So.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Dr. Bradshaw, it's Brenda. I have a quick question.
Sure.
It's page 20 of the preceptor packet that you want a snapshot dropped into the Dropbox,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. The Dropbox is page 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so that I've got something. If the accreditors come back and say, "How do you know that preceptor really got that packet?" Just put it in the Dropbox. That way I can say, well, they signed for it, And I usually do when I have clinical courses in general, although I got to say this is my first time teaching this class. But just like any other clinical, what I usually do is get a list of your preceptor contacts and do the old courtesy, my name's Dr. Bradshaw, this is my student. If they give you any trouble, let me know. Or, if you need anything clarified, let me know. So, one, it's a way to keep my records, and two, it's just a way to communicate because, we've all precepted students. Preceptors do a lot of work and they don't get anything for it, really. I do try to send a letter at the end of class to preceptors, just thanking them so that they can at least put something in their brag sheets or saying that they precepted. So I will give them a thank you letter at the end of the class, but just to make sure they know that they feel supported in what they're doing.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure the outcomes or the objectives are not due Friday.
No, well, I want to see, as far as objectives go, I just want to see what you're planning to do. I think I've talked to most all of you about what you're going to do, but I just want to commit it to writing. And I want to commit it to putting it in a format that is in that SMART type language, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound, all those things. Because again, how else do we evaluate your forward progress? So that's the point of that.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. Thanks.
You don't have to write a novel on that either. Think more broad things than more. You don't have to give it down. I'm just hoping for a sentence. Yeah, you don't have to give it. I would say 5 good objectives would be more than enough, because your log is really your documentation of achievement, right? That is documenting how you spend the time. So I think if you just have 5 or maybe 6 major things that you want to do, I would keep it somewhere in that ballpark. I don't think you should list out 20 or something.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Bradshaw, it's Paige. I have a question.
Sure.
I'm still having an issue getting my preceptor packet approved. He has to send it through our clinical representation to get approved for him, I guess, with our company. I have spoken with him and I have some objectives. Is that still going to be an issue?
Yep. No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. And I tried to purposely set things up in class where it may take a few weeks for this to get done.
Okay.
So just give me what you have.
Okay.
There's really nothing in our assignments that you couldn't do without the clinical work. It's just that you have to do the clinical work eventually to
Okay.
be able to say, just because that's how our program is set up. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. And that's why, speaking of like the paper and things, you can really write about absolutely anything you want. But I guess the critical thinking point that I want you to think about for this class is, why are you different now as a result of getting the DNP? How are you different than you were before? What is it about your thinking that has shifted? So for me, it was kind of interesting to read the book. For me, confidence, I think, is a big one. Learning how to look things up, have a seat at the table, not feel intimidated by rhetoric of physicians or other colleagues or anything like that, to say, I'm good at what I do. I mean, I kind of would say I probably knew that already, but it's that bigger systems picture. And for example, at my office, I work for an FQHC, and tomorrow we're having an open house and all the senators are coming, and things like that don't really intimidate me as much. I think because I've done a lot of this work, so it's that type of thing. So what is it about you that's shifting? Yeah. Anybody want to share what's shifting about you, or anything you notice about yourself?
Well, can I just give a little experience? So with this program, confidence is huge. I don't know everything, and I never will.
All right.
But people have looked at me more like a better professional because I'm working on a DNP,
Mm-hmm.
and it's me the confidence. I actually went and interviewed for a position last week for a system job at our corporation, where a year ago I would never have had the confidence to feel like I was capable of doing such a position. So because of the commute, it went to someone else, but was great. I felt confident in my skills and my knowledge, and confidence is a huge, huge thing. I would never have done that a year ago.
Good.
So it makes a difference. People look at you differently when you say, I'm working on a doctorate of nursing practice or whatever. They're like, oh, wow, like you do want to be a leader. Like it's different. So it's good.
Good. Anybody else got any burning observations you want to share? It's all good. But, they say the average salary increase after your DNP is about $9,000. So that doesn't quite recoup, I'm sure, what you've spent to go to school. However, I will say that I have had, like you, some very interesting job offers as a result of this. One was for Director of Quality Improvement, and it had a 2 in front of a 6-figure number. And so that was like, when that happened to me, I was like, I don't really want this job, but that's kind of cool. Like that's kind of cool. So, that was kind of my aha, like, whoo, like I know something that they want to know. So it's kind of interesting, but I don't want to keep you. I want you to go forth and conquer and do your thing and get to your families and all that type of stuff. But I am here. If you need me, I will hang out here if you want to chat a little bit more. If you don't, that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording just so that it doesn't get 50,000 miles long for our colleagues that are going to join later.